intent, expression, beautiful image. Actually, I could say there's all three elements here. I just told him, look over there. Click. Welcome to the channel. Hayward here. I am going to show you 3 hacks or tips that you can use to level up your portrait game to get much better photography. They're not complicated. In fact, they're kind of simple, but they're really subtle. So I'm going to use a few of my own images to illustrate and explain how to apply them and use them in your own work. If you're returning to the channel, you've been here before, you're probably going to notice I'm not in the same area of the studio to kick this video off. I am in front of this new image in our studio. It's an oil painting of a young ballerina that I talked about in a previous video. The reason I'm starting the video in front of it today is because this image is going to illustrate one of the hacks, tips that you can use. All right, let's get down to it. First off, I want to say the reason I'm doing this and presenting these 3 hacks or tips is because I've heard a lot of people, or I know a lot of people that struggle to get good story or emotion in their portraits. And I think a lot of times they're just trying too hard. These are 3 hacks that are gonna really just instantly change the results that you get. So here's the 3 of them, and they're pretty simple. Don't laugh, they're my names. The look away, the smize, and the architectural. Yes, you can go ahead and scratch your head because you have no idea what I'm talking about. Let's get right into the images so I can tell you what I'm talking about and show you the effect it can have on your portrait photography. Okay, let's kick it off with the young ballerina in the painting I was standing in front of. This one illustrates the look away. I just told her to look at the rose. This instantly makes the viewer wonder, what is she thinking? What's going on here? It forces the viewer to engage. There wasn't anything going on. I said, look at the rose. And now the viewer has to fill in the blanks. Cam here is another example of the look away, but this one has a little bit more motivation to it. He is standing in a performing arts venue looking towards the crowd. Cam is a performer, he is a singer, so the story of his portrait is of him singing, and this action of him looking towards the crowd sells it. He is doing something he would be doing to create the story of the portrait. The viewer now has to imagine themselves being in the audience watching him. Okay, this is one of my favorites. I love it, and not everyone can pull this one off. I call this one the smize. I used to call it the Mona Lisa, but that kind of set people to too high of expectations. But it's the smize. It's a smile that makes you wonder. Colleen here is looking at the camera with that just smize or Mona Lisa expression. The viewer is instantly engaged and wonders, what's the thought here? It puts the viewer back on their heels a little bit. They can't just look at that and go, ah. They look at it and go, And that's what you want. You want the viewer to have thoughts, reactions, and emotions to your photography. This is a recent image I did of Kendall. And there's a couple of things going on here. Actually, I could say there's all 3 elements here. We have the look away. She's not looking at the camera. We kind of have a smize, but we really can't tell because it's a profile. And we have an architectural. Her relationship to her surroundings forces the eye and the mind to make the rounds around the image. It forces the eye to move around. That's one of the important parts of the architectural. You engage the viewer so that their eye just doesn't settle on one point. It keeps going round and round. Because she's looking away here, you also wonder what's going on, what's her thought. You put your emotions in her mind, whether or not they were there. I just told Kendall, look up at that tree, and she filled it in. This stuff is simple, but it has profound effects on your photography. Here's another image that embodies all three. If you can pull together all three in an image, you get an image with strong impact like this one, another one of Kendall, same session. This is one of my favorite images from the session. Again, an architectural, she's framed between the beams. She's confined to space, she's looking away, and she's got an enigmatic expression, the smiles on her face. Again, I just told her to look away at the trees toward the sun. There was no hard direction for me to give or for her to follow. That's important here. It's really simple. Don't overthink this. The mind fills in the details really easily. It wants to. That's why these techniques work so well. You don't have to work so hard. This isn't a stage play where I have to direct the client to really feel a certain way. Look over there. Boom. It works. Completely different setting, completely different feeling and emotion because of the environment. This is Kyle doing a look away. And the look away now makes you wonder, what is he doing in this environment next to this? It's not really a stream. It kind of looks like it. It's a creek running through town. We're really right in town here. Again, everything fools you in portrait photography. It makes you wonder, what's he thinking? Because he's just staring off into the distance. It engages you. It pulls you in. We put him with the cowboy hat in a rough exterior. It sets a mood. It sets a stereotype, and that's not a bad thing. You want that viewer of your photography to be thinking. Another shot of Kyle, completely different. Again, we've got strong architecturals here, right? We contrasted on this one. We did a contrast between how he's dressed and where he's standing. Western, kind of rustic versus modern architecture, and the contrast makes the architectural. Not really doing a smize on this, but it's a blank expression. All I did was, I said, Kyle, don't smile, but just look at the lens and hold your hat. Not hard, right? Be very simple, be very literal, and you'll be shocked at the results you can get. Okay, moving on here. This is another very strong image. This one's a little bit of a cheat. Peyton in this image is a performer. However, my direction to him was very simple. Look over there. Now, he knew how to sell it. He knew what we were trying to do. So he was a cut above, the average portrait subject. But again, very simple, very literal direction between the environment and his it's not a smize, it's definitely not a smize, his intent expression. Beautiful image. Here's another one of Peyton. Again, he's a performer, so there's a lot of architectural going on here because I did a little bit of a Dutch angle. I framed him with all the leading lines and that little starburst of light. It was from a flash, by the way, that I set up. It wasn't just there. And not looking at the camera, performing. And if you have someone who's like a musician or they do an activity, here's a tip. They're going to be very genuine when they're doing a favorite activity. You don't have to do a damn thing. You just tell them to do what they love and you're going to get great photography. One last one of Peyton here. This was at a different location. Again, strong architectural's got lines going across and strong shadows and a very vertical image. And I just told him, look over there, click. There it is. It doesn't take a lot. When you have an image, this one I want to say is, I saw this image in my mind. You have to see the finished image in your mind or it's going to be kind of hard. You're going to struggle a little bit. Plan ahead. The look away, the smize, the architectural. My funny little names, but 3 things that are really easy to do, and I hope that you can see that they really can make some images that are just a cut above and a little better than just look into the camera and smile. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you've gotten something out of it, a technique that you can maybe use and improve your own photography. I look forward to hearing from you in the comments. As always, thank you for watching this video. Until the next one, cheers.